while.
All right, guys, we're
Back again.
another show.
Reluctantly.
Sadie's back. Sadie's back again.
Back again. We got a new spot here. We're in a new spot. New
This
studio.
was my first home.
Melissa's first.
My first home here on Avenue D
We're in the cottage.
in the cottage.
We call it the cottage, which was a great place. It was good. I always say it was a great bachelor pad, but not a great place for a family or a couple because
It's not a great place for a family.
There's no bathroom.
There's no kitchen.
There's no kitchen. There's
it's
no
just
bathroom.
a room.
It's a
In
room.
fact, if you want some fun fact, it's it was a
potting
gardening shed that Chris enclosed with drywall,
Windows.
laid some floor on top of
Yep.
dirt.
No, it's a slab.
Oh, there's a slab.
But it's a fairly low level slab, and the roots of that tree are starting to come up under it and buckle through.
But he did a lot of intricate molding
Yep.
and some pretty cool window work.
A lot of leftover pieces from various jobs when I would do construction. That door I pulled off somehow when we tore it out. Did that punch out, all that. But yeah, anyhow, let's get to jiu-jitsu.
All right. Okay, so we're back. We got to go through the full rundown today, I think, because
Batman's here.
We got all kinds of people in the
And
house.
Leonard, shit.
I'm Tobin, the producer. We're here on set. We got Batman on set. We got Ninja Man on set.
The
We
clown.
got Clown on set. We got Punch Drunk on set. We've got The Knight on set. Master Splinter.
Somebody from Star Trek, BB-8. BB-8's up there.
BB-8's up there.
Leonard's here.
Leonard's here.
Leonard is super cool.
Leonard's making an appearance.
And we have my official Mass Eye shield that was probably made somewhere in the 1920s. That one of my neighbors, who was a global adventurer who'd go around the world on his boat, that's who I got that from.
That's insane.
It's an awesome, true Mass Eye warrior spear and shield.
Very, very cool. We got Shia, we got Sadie, and we got the CEO.
Yeah.
Come on.
What's up, haters?
So rad. Yes.
What's up?
We got Haueter, Chris
I'm
Haueter,
here.
the Venerable, on deck here.
CBH.
I gotta tell you guys, I'm fired up not only from this new spot, feels pretty rad, but this topic today is gonna be insane.
I'm excited. I don't even know the topic yet, so I'm excited to
You
hear
did
about
not review the show notes.
I did not. Sometimes, though, I intentionally kind of don't. Like
Yeah.
when I teach, I don't intentionally have anything I'm going to teach. It like adds kind of a adrenaline jolt. Like I better figure this out. Spontaneity, yeah.
He loves spontaneity.
I do.
I feel like a cool show would be Chris Haueter's Chaos Theory.
Ooh, I love chaos theory.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I actually heard a great lecture on it yesterday.
Nice. Well, but today what we're going to talk about is Chris Haueter's rule of threes.
Ooh.
But before we jump into that, let's just say thanks again to Patreon. Get on the Patreon. It's the dopest way to support the show. And don't forget the hotline, 949-791-7763. So the first bullet point on Chris Haueter's rule of threes show notes is, Chris, riff on your rule of threes.
Ooh, okay.
And nobody interrupt, especially not the woman. Let me just get that out of the way for the haters.
Oh, boy. Yeah.
Love you guys. Not.
So yeah, let's like the chaos theory. There's a sociological meaning and understanding of it that comes from the scientific thing, like the Lorentz equation and all that stuff, which I don't have enough expertise to even get into. But us humans, as pattern recognition machines, tend to look at the world in a very Newtonian way. Like, it's the reason why when something really good happens, we can say, it was meant to be, or something really bad happens, we say, oh, that must have meant to be, because it's actually a frightening prospect to realize that life is chaos and there is no game plan, and it can really depress people, because we humans like to think there's a greater good, a greater plan, a higher power. Chaos theory, like how I relate it to Hegelian dialectics and Taoism, is when you accept that there is no plan, that you got to make your own plan, and you have to be the change you want to see. You have to be the good. It's kind of like one of those things where, like, I'm the last male child of my dad's side Haueter line. And when you go back in history, like when I was watching 1883 a couple months back, when you realize that life really was, for most of human existence, brutish, frightening, and short. Life was brutal. And we really are in this absolute gifted time that even people who try to know history, we don't even grasp how charmed our lives are to be able to sleep in a heated house with a down comforter on a bed with filtered water, not worrying about giardia and typhoid, and how diseases literally would kill off so many humans. And of course, some people fear that we might be heading back to that time, because when you don't know your history, people say you're doomed to repeat it. But that's the thing. That's that thinking that we think things exist in this Newtonian way. The cause and effect thing. And I wish I would have boned up on this show, because I would have made sure I read more about the philosophies regarding free will.
Well, remember, we're doing rule of threes.
Rule of threes.
This
Yes.
is rule of
Where
threes.
did you just jump to?
Well,
I think, are you going rule of threes?
this
or are you
is
going
my
chaos show?
pre-rule of
preamble.
threes.
Before
Okay,
three, there
preamble.
was two.
Oh.
Before three, there was two.
So, wouldn't you guys agree that our brains are like meat computers that think very binary? We are on-off switches connected in a network of yeses and nos, creating little biological transistors that become integrated circuits, which are like nerve things. And that's just kind of how we think. And we can't not think in that way, because it's what we are. And like the computer analogy, like all analogies at some point, a breakdown, because all metaphors and analogies, that's what they are. They aren't the actual thing. But what I strive to do, and it's my it's my ego's like dream that I've had since I was in high school and had this vision on an acid trip that, we are thinking limited. Now, of course, I'm not the only one who's thought that. There's all kinds of new age stuff about expanding your mind, the Buddha, Nirvana. There's like all these pathways into enlightenment. And I think when our modern, spoiled Western brains hear the word enlightenment, it creates an anticipatory goal to get to something that even pulls you out of the now. And the whole Buddha thing, like if you read Hermann Hesse's Siddhartha, which is the pathway of the Buddha, it's like, how do you get into the moment of now? Because into the moment of now is how you escape the binary. And then you get into what I call my rule of threes, which most of the time is just a learning meme to break us out of the binary thinking that is so common in martial arts and combat sports. So that would be life. My pre-intro. So instead of, you got striking arts and grappling arts, you've got stand-up and ground arts, you've got punching arts or kicking arts. So like everything we do, we translate it and present it in some form of a binary. And I've long since strived, and in some ways, creating that third point just breaks you out of it so you can actually get above the binary and see how, oh, both of them are useful and good. It's not that I want to either have the switch on or off. It's like I want the switch to exist in on or off, which also then you can go into quantum mechanics and how cool superpositioning is, and get into that whole moment of now and how it splits apart into an infinite universes and what is infinity. All that's what gets me to my rule of threes in a very weird way, that I do not have the scientific or philosophical language to explain what I feel goes on in my head when I have glimpses of it.
All right. Got any comments there, CEO?
Well, I when Chris talks, like especially when he goes on and on, which is good. We want him to go on and on. I'm not saying we don't want him to. I just have a lot of thoughts and comments along the way, and I don't say anything because I don't want to interrupt him. But then I get accused of interrupting him.
I think it's okay.
That's very binary.
That's very binary.
The other perspective would be that, like, some of the things maybe I don't need to say, but he was commenting on, like, how do we get to the now? And that's something that, like, I feel is a very important spiritual journey for myself and anyone else who's seeking recovery from any type of mental, emotional kind of disorders or problems.
Which is all of us.
It could be. Some people are in denial about it and they're using other means to escape that, and that's fine. But for myself, I think that the way that you get there is through practice.
Yeah.
It's practice. It's a skill that when I find myself getting away from the now and worrying and obsessing on things that may or may not happen in the future, or wanting to change things that I can't change, that I practice bringing myself back to what's actually going on right now, and that's
kind of like that thing. You can't think yourself there. You have to act yourself there.
Yes, but my other comment about it is that I don't really understand how being present focused, how does that apply to the rule of threes?
So
what's the link?
Past, present, future.
Yes.
Is that what you're talking about?
If you're living in the past, not great. If you're living in the future too much and like constantly having anticipatory thoughts, that can break you down.
Yeah.
So you want to be in the moment.
So that's the third,
right?
Is that, are we saying that the binary has us either living in the past or living in the future, and that
you
the
bring them
rule
together,
of
that
three
point of now
is being in the now?
That point of now gives the third perspective.
And that how we relate that to martial arts is that if we're worried about what just happened or trying to predict what's going to happen in the future, there's no way we're going to be successful at grappling, because we really have to be in tune with what is going on a moment-to-moment basis in order to respond to what's happening adequately.
Yes. And most black belts do that, and they're not even aware they're doing it.
I'm aware. But I'm aware.
And there's also awareness of that. It is in and of itself a spectrum and a practice, right? You can't just like go, oh, I just heard that now is all exists, and now I'm in the now, right? It's kind of one of those things. We are always existing in the now. That's what reality is. And the future and past, some could say, don't really exist anymore. Which like trips me out, because that, gets that whole concept of what is nothingness. Like, and every kid just about, I'm sure, has gone through that phase where you're trying to imagine what nothingness is. Like, I used to think about that all the time as a kid. And I was petrified of death. And because part of me somehow believed, and I'm not sure, I hope the religious people are right, but that death is this final thing of nothingness. And that we are rapidly going through this thing of time, getting to this place, that you cannot stop it. And most of the things that my brain does to distract itself, in some ways, are distracting itself from the inevitability of death. Now, yes, is that a very unhealthy way to think? Yeah, that was what the um, Buddha, that was his panic that made him abandon his life and his wealth. He realized, I can have everything I want, but one day it's going to all be gone. So there has to be something more than this materialism. And even, yeah, it's like people think I'm anti-religious. I am not. I'm religious envy. Like, I envy people who,
You wish you could be a believer.
I wish I could
You could just
believe.
abandon yourself to God.
Right. And I've tried it. I've done it. I took the Jesus challenge when I had roommates, and I got down on my knees and prayed every day. Jesus, if you are real, reveal yourself in a way that can be undenied. Like, there was a thing I would read that I got from my roommates, and I would really try. And then for like maybe 10 minutes or half an hour, I would think something happened, and I would think it was there. Like, one of my favorite skeptics, Michael Shermer, who runs the Skeptic magazine, but debunks hoaxers and frauds who like claim they could read the future, or bend spoons with their minds, like all that. He has like a standing thing: if you could prove any one of these supernatural things, I will give you $1 million. And he's had that on for the last 30 years. No one can do it. They're always debunked. But so he, during his marriage, his wife had a favorite uncle. And the uncle had died before the wedding. And the uncle had this old radio that Michael was trying to repair. And I'm probably not saying this completely accurate, and they couldn't get the radio to work. And then they were having the wedding, it was like a home backyard wedding. And right after, like, we now announce you man and wife, the radio went on and was playing like some old song. And then they went in and turned it off, and it would never go back on again. It was like, that was like his way of going, wow, maybe there is some spiritual, like maybe that's what sent him on a quest, right? But he has never been able, like, because he approaches things with the scientific method, which we mostly think in binary terms, you can always debunk it. Kind of like free will, really looking at it just in our current scientific knowledge, there is no such thing. You can always find the previous cause of what affects that, right? And chaos, when you throw in chaos, you create so many random variables that, like, say when he was walking to go turn the radio off, a bee flew by and he went, whoa, that almost hit me, which caused some other patron at the wedding to look the other way, which made them leave the wedding 5 minutes later than they would have normally left, causing a car accident which killed the future president of the United States. Like,
that damn bee.
right. The flap of a butterfly's wing alters the course. And the whole multiverse theory, like the way I see it, is in that moment of now. That is where there's an infinite number of universes peeling off. Like, because I'm an artist, I imagine everything either visually or musically. I can picture them then going, like, just different variables, right? And the third way is, because I don't know if we can ever be there or not, but I try to hover around that area, right? That's kind of like the way, because I think with our material bodies, we cannot be there. I think the way our brains think, we cannot. And if there is a truth to quote unquote spirituality, magic, or afterlife, it exists somewhere there.
Nice.
I don't know if that's to rule of threes, but
Well, no, I think we're pontificating on
how we get to rule of threes.
the now being
Yeah.
the third option, past, present, and future, right?
It's one of the threes,
One
right?
of the three,
Yeah.
but leading to like the highest, or most applicable application of the rule of threes, which goes across the board for all conscious beings, right? And so,
It's a cult.
a super
It's a cult.
universal concept,
We
right?
can make a cool cult out of it. I would love to.
Super universal concept.
We have
and
a charismatic leader.
we do. And a CEO.
And a CEO.
Okay, so we have this super important physical and metaphysical concept that things break down into threes when our human brains see them as binary.
Yes.
And that is interesting. And it seems like the path towards enlightenment or a higher level of existing is to focus on the third thing, which is the present.
And training in your martial art helps you practice that. That's
for sure.
a big part of it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Is that you have that time, and it's like another good practice for a person would be meditation.
Mm-hmm.
People think meditation that has to be something special, but really could it just be sitting there trying to fully be present in the now
1000%.
moment, and whether it's moving, whether it's walking, whether it's rolling, whatever it is, it's a form of meditation.
Totally.
Whether it's sitting still.
Yeah, walk. A lot of people walk for that.
I love walking.
For sure. But the cool thing is, I think we can look at this rule of threes and it actually kind of bleeds down into everything, which is, I know, the way you sort of think about it, Chris. And so I did a little research, right?
Yeah.
So
Hands, head, and hips.
what does the AI say? Okay, so it says, the rule of three refers to several related ideas, primarily focusing on the power of groups of threes when it comes to communication, writing, and survival. In communication and writing, it suggests that presenting information in concepts in threes can be more engaging and more memorable. In survival, it's a guideline prioritizing survival needs. Air for 3 minutes, shelter for 3 hours, water for 3 days, and food for 3 weeks.
That's an awesome rule of threes. Yeah, I
Right.
love rules of threes.
Right. So in my research, I found 3 is the smallest number that you need to start recognizing a pattern. So that's maybe part of the explanation why threes are good for human brains. Because as you said, we're pattern recognizing meat computers.
Pattern recognition meat computers.
And that's the most efficient, simplest, easiest to remember pattern. Beginning of a pattern is 3 things. And then, some examples of threes. So in physics, Newton has 3 rules of motion.
Laws of motion, yep.
In music, there's musical triads, which are 3 note building blocks, which are the foundation of what makes a harmony. In religion, the concept of the triple deity, so common throughout world mythology, such as the Holy Trinity.
Yeah.
Father, Son, Holy Spirit.
In
Amen.
art and photography, principles of composition, such as the rule of thirds, like you break
Yes.
everything into thirds.
Rule of thirds and that the conch shell, keep going.
And then Aristotle's 3 unities, dramatic unity of time, place, and action. And 3 dramatic conflicts, internal, relational, and external. 3-act structure, beginning, middle, and end, used throughout drama and in the modern cinematic trilogy. So then those are ideas and concepts that are based on this rule of threes. And some examples of like places where we see other clusters of 3 that help us remember things and think are like in advertising oftentimes. So some examples of that are like, just do it, the Nike quote.
Just do it, yep.
McDonald's, I'm loving it.
Yep.
3 things. Finger licking good.
Yep.
Snap, crackle, pop. Diamonds are forever. Education, education, education. Location, location, location.
Yep, for real estate.
Situs, Altius, Fortius, the Olympic motto.
Latin, yep.
Swifter, higher, stronger.
But the Stoics have 4, and it drives me nuts. The 4
Those damn Stoics.
Because I love it, but I'm trying to cram their 4 virtues into 3.
What are the 4 virtues of the Stoics?
God, what are they again? It's
see, 4.
wisdom. I gotta look it up.
Here, I got it.
But
Wisdom,
keep
justice,
going.
courage, and
Yes.
temperance.
Wisdom, justice, courage. I'm trying to find how to blend 2 of them together so I can make the combat base Stoic version 3s. But anyway,
Can't wisdom and temperance be together?
I think so.
Yeah.
I just want to throw out there
that's
that Schoolhouse Rock said that 3 was a magic number.
3 is a magic
number, right? So,
man and woman had a little baby.
So that those are some examples of the way that our brains work and the way the universe works, right?
And like art, how if you're like, let's take a picture. You want to have something in the foreground. You want your subject, usually the middle ground, and then a background. Otherwise, it looks flat. And you can tell people that intuitively know how to take a picture of the group after training. There's like when you realize, why is that picture good and that one look flat? It's because they've used the rule of thirds or they've added something in the,
And then, so here you go. You got this universal concept, rule of 3s, and we start doing this jiu-jitsu activity or any activity in life. And it's all this information you're being bombarded with. Oh, I got to learn judo. I got to learn wrestling. I got to learn all this stuff.
Right.
I got to learn submissions. I got to learn all these different things. And I think you can use this rule of 3s concept to sort of filter and break down how you need to think about jiu-jitsu. And you do a great job of explaining that.
To simplify it, but not simplify it so much that it's binary.
Mm-hmm.
That's like the goal.
So how do you break down the 3 parts of fighting, and how does that work?
Like generally, like in unarmed one-on-one combat, if we branch out, we got to get into team-on-team combat sports. But on one-on-one, without weapons, you have what I call, and it sounds kind of dumb, but the stand-up phase, which is mostly punches and kicks and elbows and knees. The clinch phase, which there's the cloth and the no cloth arts. You got to throw in this yin and yang binary, and that's like, and then there's the 3 levels: high, middle, low. Wrestling is really good at middle and low, ankle picks, shots, low line. Judo Greco is good at the high, at mid to high. But obviously you have to have a foot sweep in there as well and all that. And our brains tend to get that tunnel vision and focus on the middle. Whereas if you're staying vertical in that 3s, it gets you to what the Japanese call off balance, a kazushi, right? That whole principle I think is really awesome. And then, like for me, I quickly realized, this is the reason why the jiu-jitsu does almost everything on the ground, because it literally is a whole other art. And when you add cloth or remove a cloth, it adds a whole other art. When you add a punching or remove it, it's a whole other art. If you add, let's punch, but no punches to the head, you've changed the art. So that the environment changes and the art adapts. And when people try to insist on, I'm just going to cram my art into this foreign environment, that usually doesn't work out that well. And when it does, it makes people think, it was meant to be. So we're stuck in magical thinking again. And so the rule of 3s is also to get you out of magical thinking, to stay skeptical, and recognize that everything is training. Like I remember a person asking us, well, what's the point? Is it self-defense or to win tournaments or whatever? It's like, for me, there is no point. The point is I do this because I feel like I can't not do it. Like I'm not striving to do this. I'm doing it in a, God, I don't know, in a nirvana-ish way. And then that makes my jiu-jitsu even better. But when I'm thinking about what I should be doing or how I should fix it and all that, I mean, it might help you add another technique or adjust it, but it's really not helping the blissful state, which is where I think the magic happens.
Yeah, I think people get trapped in that wanting to progress faster, and they think that in order to progress faster, they need to figure out some magic formula that's going to make it happen, when really, probably, if you want to embrace the spirituality of jiu-jitsu, it's just show up
Yeah.
and let it happen.
You're already there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the confusing and overwhelming thing is that there's so much stuff to absorb and to think about. And it's kind of hard to know in today's age with all the information being slung at you online and stuff, like what to think about. And I find that rule of threes really, really helpful, because you can go like stand up, clinch, and ground. And then from there, you can kind of focus on like maybe like 3 takedowns.
Yes.
Maybe like
3 good.
3 defenses for
3 high takedowns,
kicks.
3 middle takedowns, 3
Yeah.
low takedowns. Yeah.
Yeah. And then it can fractal off like to the groundwork. You can kind of break that down into threes and maybe just choose like 3 techniques for whatever basic problem you're trying to solve, and focus on those ones. And maybe those can be ones that happen to naturally work for you, or ones that you think are cool and want to add.
Yeah,
And,
I think that really goes off of what I said, though, because you can't know it all.
Yeah.
You cannot know it all.
Right.
And that's also part of the spirituality of it, is that it's infinite.
Yeah.
There's too much, and you collect things a little bit along the way, but you don't want to be so focused in one direction that all I learn are guard passes. I only know guard passes because I'm so obsessed with guard passes that I have 8,000 guard passes. I'm not going to really have a good game. Yeah. It's like I have to spend a little bit of time on everything, so I can be a complete, well-rounded grappler, whether that's 3 or maybe it's 4, or maybe it's 2.
Yeah.
You know?
And everyone loves...
Average is 3.
Yeah. We all love the encyclopedia of black belt on the mat. And sometimes we're all that person, the person that goes, oh, I'll show you this version and that one. And for me, it's not that I want to acquire all those, but whatever 3 I've got, I'll find something from the encyclopedia guy that enhances one of my 3s.
Yeah, and not everybody. Well, I personally don't have any desire to be an encyclopedia guy, but I appreciate encyclopedia guy.
I love
because encyclopedia guy, even they don't use everything they know. They just know a whole bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
And I like to know stuff that I do, and have a well-rounded enough thing where I could teach people a little bit of something from different places, but I don't have to be an expert at everything.
No.
Yeah.
You know?
And you want to know because like I really believe that humans are mostly afraid of the unknown and public shame. And the unknown part, like, even if you're not going to use it as your game, the encyclopedia guy makes it known. It's like, oh, there are people who do that. And that's what I got to learn, how to take one of my 3s I like to be able to counter.
Yeah. What's the third thing that people are afraid of?
Yeah, what is the third thing?
I think it's death.
It's
death
losing something that they have, or not getting something that they want.
Yes.
But
we're in a binary, and maybe, go ahead.
But what else? Because that's what I think that most fear is centered in, what I've learned in my life. That
like, I think
losing something I have, whether that's my own life or the life of my loved ones, or not getting something that I want, some kind of financial security or whatever it is.
Well, it's like when humans are faced in a moment, an in the now crisis, like an explosion or gunshots or car wreck, we either freeze, fight, or flight. Like, those 3 things are, and all those instincts are instincts that we have passed down because they are successful instincts. Like if all of a sudden, boom, boom, you just freeze, you're not going to attract the eyeballs of the guy who's squeezing rounds off. And sometimes running is exactly what attracts that. Or sometimes I'd better run and take a cover, or I better charge it. And like, so all three of those are successful traits. You hope the one you fall into is the one that works. And through training, you're taking the unknown and patterning kind of known a pattern so you can hopefully respond rapidly, call it almost instinctively. It's like a lot of training is not so much acquiring knowledge, but adjusting our instincts, making our instinct do this time-tested laboratory of the mat or the cage or the ring or the range tested thing that we know has the best outcomes, right? And that's kind of like, just as a training method, I think that's a valuable thing.
Yeah, cool thought for the rule of threes, I feel like, is that mastery of this like jiu-jitsu thing is not that you know everything, right? I think like you just said. And I think a cool thing to note is that maybe mastery of this thing is maybe getting a good breakdown of these three categories, and maybe you can do 3 takedowns, maybe you can do 3 submissions from 3 different positions or whatever, you know? And yeah, I think that's a good way to break it down and think about it.
And one of the ones that drives me nuts. All right, so I love hands, head, and hips. And I remember hearing that from an Olympic wrestling coach decades ago. But in wrestling, people don't kick you, right? So really, like, are there 4? And again, that drives me nuts. Like, what are your feet supposed to be doing? And I usually, when I teach, I don't mention that because then I'll go down a rabbit hole. But yeah, I really like.
Save your rabbit holes for here. I interrupted him.
I include
Haters.
Yeah, I include footwork, feet with the hips, even though they really shouldn't be maybe included with the hips, because then it fits my hands, head, and hips thing.
But also, the lower extremity extends from the hip, and without the hip, you wouldn't be able to do any kicks.
That's how I.
So.
Yeah, but then wouldn't you end up being do like head, shoulders, and hips instead
Head,
of
shoulders,
hands?
knees, and toes.
Yeah.
It would
That's
be
4.
it would be head, hands, and feet, or it would be head, shoulders, and hips.
And then, like, when we think of 3-dimensional space, an X, Y, Z axis, right? So, and time is the 4th. So, like, that's what, like, alters all that. But that also brings us back to, it's because we're binary thinkers. And we can only filter and interpret this through this model we've constructed of the XYZ axis. And when we reduce things to flat, that is our way of simplifying things in 2-dimensional, in essence, right?
And yeah, it's funny because even just thinking about this, I'm like, my brain's going like, oh, is the rule of threes right, or is binary right? And it's like, Neither. Like, yeah.
It's just models. Right. It's all just models, right? Yeah.
All right. Well, I think we beat that up a little bit.
We did.
And
we lumped it up.
Some good stuff going there. Did you have a gym shout out for today?
I don't really. How about we just talk about what Chris is up to? I mean, I don't know when this is coming out, but Chris is going to be going up to Oregon to SBG Bend
Oregon
on the
territory
of the 17th and 18th. He's going to do a 2-day seminar up there, 17th and 18th. And then he's going to be going out to the Loyalty in Elko, Nevada. They're having a big camp.
Oh,
and there's going to be all kinds of people there. Like, I think Hegan's going to be there.
When I was at Hegan's movie premiere, somebody was telling me that they'll see me at that event, and I didn't realize what they were talking about.
Yeah, it's a big camp. I think Chris is teaching on Sunday out there, but it's going to be a big deal and a lot going on. So that's definitely something to check out, that, maybe you're flying into Elko, or maybe you're a local to Nevada. And then he's going to be going out to East Coast, New Jersey on the 14th of June
New
to Modern
Jersey.
Fighting Concepts.
New Jersey.
Near Atlantic City out there.
Hey, New Jersey.
Yeah, so that's what's kind of going on in the next couple months. And then, of course, we have our big event in
July.
our big event in July. Yeah, our big event in July, the 18th through 20th, which is our combat-based camp. And I think it's a good idea, if you want to come to combat-based camp, that you get your tickets now.
Yes.
Get your tickets now, because...
And the camps are fun.
Well,
Mingling's fun.
And also, you get a lower rate for the next month until June 1st. We're going to do our final price increase. So take advantage of the lower rate and sign up now.
Yes.
Now.
And in this world of confusion and chaos where you feel alone or you're sucked into your screen, whatever it is, camps are a great way to get out and experience the physical world. Get out of your head, get out of your screen, get out of your day-to-day mindless problems that you feel like you're dealing with. And
yeah, we're going to have lots of different things. Like for the ladies out there, we're going to start Friday with a women's seminar with my girl Casey. And then, carry on 3 full-length seminars, which right there, that's pretty much the price of the ticket. 3 full-length Chris Haueter seminars. We've got the MMA with Danny Suarez, who's been in the game a really long time.
Yep.
Want to give extra shout outs to Danny and his new gym in Anaheim. We've got the knife defense, which is a really important aspect for all of us to familiarize ourselves with in the game. Knife defense with Jerry Wetzel, and then Brian, who's hosting out of Mission Viejo High School with the catch wrestling. I'm going to do a little yoga, and we have open mats, and it's not too far from the beach. Hopefully we'll get some time to go out and do a beach day. And you can extend your trip. I heard some people talking about extending their trip and hitting Disneyland. And
that's a cool,
because that's nearby Orange County. And so
and weekdays in the summertime is better to go because it's less crowded at Disneyland. So
interesting.
Weekends are always more crowded.
Yeah. So you won't be there on the weekend because you'll be at camp.
You'll be at camp.
Right, so you'll be there on a weekday.
There like on Tuesday.
I don't know.
Or
I mean,
Wednesday,
summertime is like definitely not my favorite time to go to Disneyland, but I prefer going when it's raining.
Me too.
Because then you just put your like rain gear on, and there's way less people because the strollers aren't that into rain, and neither are the motorized scooters.
They're not into rain.
So it just makes it a little more spacious.
And make sure you get fit with your rules of 3s, strength, flexibility, cardio.
So you can walk around Disneyland.
Those are
without
the
a motorized scooter.
3 fundamentals of fitness. Yeah, so you can have you won't need your Wally scooter.
Yeah, trying to stay out of that Wally scooter.
I got a new phone.
Did you?
And I lost the voicemails from the hotline that I was gonna play right now. And I
woke up the dog going.
So I lost our voice. That's why I was just frantically looking for them.
Well, I can ramble on more about camp. Just kidding.
No, I wanted to do some cues, but I don't know. Shit. Let's just wrap it up.
All right, Toby.
Let's wrap it up.
Anyway, I think the rule of 3s is epic, and it's a good application to a lot of stuff to just help organize thinking. I think in general.
And that truly was just an intro on 3s. I actually have on my phone a notes thing that I've been keeping over the years. Whenever I run across a 3s, I try to open up my phone and put that note in.
Nice.
Because like one day I think I'll actually have a compilation of a bunch of rules of 3s.
You can make an essay.
Yep.
All right. Rad. Well, I hope that was useful for people, and thanks for hanging in there with our new setup. We're stoked on this new setup. Let us know what you think. If you got a problem with Melissa talking, you can fuck off.
And if you don't like my really super tight clothes and think that I'm hypersexual in this outfit, you are tripping
You can also fuck off.
Because I'm wearing like an oversized hoodie with leggings that I did yoga in earlier.
Yes.
You can come do yoga with me too.
Yes.
Yes.
You know, it's weird. as well. Like you go back 100 years, and you look at what women's clothing looked like. How they had those waist constrictors and those balloon
brutal,
out
huh?
And then their boobs hang out too. They had
dresses,
low cut
yeah, and
dresses.
their boobs thing. But then
Boobs.
if you went back in time and wore yoga pants, they'd probably be shocked, even though that clothing is actually more sexually suggestive than
Oh, totally.
My
That's right.
leopard print pants.
yeah.
Yeah, it just seems like more and more like it's like oppressive behavior to control what people wear, right?
Worrying about what other people wear is a strange preoccupation. And it's not totally unfounded, right? I mean, all parents know, like, you don't want your kids seeing certain clothing attires because it does invoke a certain, whether it's sexual or violent or extreme ideological. There are things that, like, you go, wow, that's
I always trip on like
inappropriate clothing or whatever.
what makes some there are certain clothing items that are like timeless. Like it looks good for some reason, like throughout time. And I'm always kind of tripping on what that is because styles have like swung so dramatically and crazy over the
Absolutely.
years. And yeah, it kind of trips me out. I don't really fully understand like why is it that there are these certain things that's like universally acceptable for long periods of time, but like other things not, you know?
Well, that's like in the opening of Mad Men, which I loved. They had that scene of Madison Avenue, and all the men are wearing hats, coat and tie.
Mhm.
Within 10 years, that had completely changed.
God.
Like people don't realize how much change happened from like 1955 to 1975. Like in those 20 years, the cultural shifts that the world underwent were profound.
And you wouldn't say that that's the same for like 2000 to 2025?
I don't know yet.
I do know because I met a totally different man that had no access to technology.
That's true.
There was no podcasting, no social media, no iPhones in everyone's
That's
pocket,
true.
no computers. Like this, to me, has probably been one of the biggest shifts in.
That's a huge shift. Yes.
Yeah.
Just doesn't have to do with clothes as much. Now everybody wears the same thing, whether they live. The kids in Australia are wearing the same clothes as the
Yes.
kids in Redondo Beach.
Yep.
Because they watch each other on the internet.
Yep.
I
We're
just-
homogenization of culture.
I can't believe the Jenko jeans are back.
I don't know what that is.
Those like ultra baggy jeans
Oh,
that have like
God.
some stitching on the butt
90s
pocket that has like
baggy.
something funny on there. Kind of like street art, like stitched onto
Yeah,
the back.
I know those. Yes. Oh, ugh.
It's insane. All right. Ready?
Leopard
Let's
skin
wrap it
leggings
up.
are timeless.
They might be. They might
Peggy
be.
Bundy. Remember her?
Yeah.
That's
Oh,
right.
dude, I don't watch a lot of TV and stuff, but I don't know. When we were maybe in Oregon or something, I watched episode 1, season 1 of Married with Children. What an awesome show.
It was a
That
great
show fucking kicks ass. It's so well put together.
We could probably maybe get Al Bundy on our podcast.
That'd be insane. The fact that the star of that show with that story is a jiu-jitsu black belt today.
And a super cool guy.
But just the fact of the character that he is, where he's this like
Yep.
guy that has this shit job that he just fucking
used to
hates.
Be a football player, has a shitty job. Yeah.
Yeah, like wants to express himself in like a fighting type of sense, but he's like repressed by the system and society and can't do it.
Yeah.
And then now he's a jiu-jitsu black belt.
It
Like,
is
like,
cool.
He's perfect. He's the perfect jiu-jitsu archetype for today, I feel like. But hey. All right, Peggy, let's get out of here.
Okay.
This one right here.
Pound,
Like and subscribe.
把的毅力，一步一个脚印，把前人所有的大师。
Well, we all have targets on our backs these days.